How new words of a second language are remembered by an adult. When adults learn a new word in a second language, the process is more complex than simple memorization. A word does not immediately become part of long-term memory. The brain first needs to notice the word, understand it, connect it to meaning, and use it over time. In other words, vocabulary learning is not only about language. It is also about attention, memory, and real-life communication. Understanding this process can help us remember words more effectively and use them with greater confidence. Different parts of the brain help us remember new vocabulary. The prefrontal cortex controls attention and helps us focus on important information. The hippocampus helps create new memories and connect words to their meaning. Language areas in the temporal lobe process sound and meaning. The repetition and use. Long-term memory develops in the neocortex. Over time, the brain becomes faster at retrieving, or in other words, remembering, and using words in communication. Remembering vocabulary is therefore a process that involves several systems working together. New vocabulary usually develops through 5 stages. First, you encounter the word. You notice the word somewhere in a context. Second, you pay attention to it and you understand its meaning. This could be through the use of the dictionary or a mobile phone application, and so on. Third, the brain connects the word to other ideas and experiences. You bring this word into a context. Fourth, repetition strengthens the memory over time. And finally, you retrieve or you recall and use the word in speaking and your writing. The important point is this: words become part of active vocabulary when they are processed, repeated, and used meaningfully. Vocabulary learning begins with exposure. You may hear a word during conversation or see it while reading. At this stage, the brain holds the word only briefly, for a couple of seconds. If attention is weak or the meaning is unclear, the word quickly disappears from memory. For example, imagine reading the word obscure. If the brain does not focus on it, the word will probably be quickly forgotten. Exposure alone is usually not enough. Attention is the first step toward memory. When attention increases, the brain begins to process the word more deeply. The learner tries to understand the meaning and importance of the word. This may happen through context or explanation or a dictionary. At this point, the word becomes more than a sound or symbol. It begins to develop meaning and significance. Without meaningful attention, vocabulary often remains temporary and difficult to use later. Encoding means building connections. The brain links the new word to images, experiences, feelings, sounds, ideas, and contexts already stored or already there in our memory. This helps the word become easier to remember. For example, consider the word mesmerize. A learner might imagine a performer captivating an audience. This creates a stronger mental connection. The more meaningful the connections are, the stronger the memory becomes. After learning a word, the memory is still weak. Without review, the brain slowly forgets it. Consolidation happens when learners revisit the word over time. Each review strengthens the neural connections related to that word. This is why spaced repetition is so effective. Reviewing vocabulary across days and weeks helps move information into long-term memory. Learning many words in one short session is usually less effective than steady review over time. Retrieval means actively remembering a word and using it. This is one of the most important parts of vocabulary learning. When learners speak or write a word, memory becomes stronger. Passive recognition is not enough for fluent communication. A learner may understand a word while reading, but still struggle to use it in conversation. Real communication strengthens retrieval pathways. For example, her performance was mesmerizing. Using the word helps transform knowledge into communication. Several important principles support vocabulary memory. First, attention matters. The brain remembers information that receives meaningful focus. Second, connections improve memory. Words linked to emotions, experiences, or personal meaning are easier and faster to remember. Third, spaced repetition or interval repetition is more effective than cramming or trying to squeeze a big number of words within a short period of time. Fourth, active recall strengthens memory more than passive review. And finally, communication. Real-life communication stabilizes learning. Using vocabulary in real situations helps words become part of active, everyday language. The forgetting curve shows how quickly memory disappears without review. Research by Hermann Ebbinghaus demonstrated that forgetting happens rapidly, especially during the first days after learning. However, repetition can slow this process. Each review strengthens the memory and helps the brain retain information longer. This is why timing matters in vocabulary learning. Regular review is much more effective than studying only once. Research suggests several effective methods for vocabulary learning. Spaced or interval repetition systems help learners review words at the right time. Learning vocabulary in context also improves memory because words become connected to real situations. Using multiple senses can strengthen learning as well. The senses are seeing, hearing, speaking, and writing. All the senses support our memory. Active production is especially important. When learners use words in speaking or in their writing, memory becomes stronger. Emotional relevance also matters. Words connected to personal interests or goals are often remembered much easier and much faster. In real life, vocabulary learning usually follows a natural sequence. First, you encounter the word. Then, you understand its meaning. Next, you connect it to other ideas and experiences. After that, you review it over time. And finally, you begin using it in your daily communication. At this stage, the word slowly becomes part of your active vocabulary. Fluent communication develops through repeated, meaningful use, not through memorization alone. Let us look at one example. Imagine encountering the word invigorating. At first, it seems really unfamiliar. Then, you discover that it means energizing and refreshing. Next, the brain connects the word to a personal experience. perhaps a refreshing morning walk. Later, we review the word several times, and then finally the word appears naturally in communication, and we say, that walk was invigorating. This is how vocabulary gradually becomes active language. The brain remembers vocabulary best when several conditions work together. First, attention. Second, meaningful connection. Third, repetition over time. And fourth, real communication. When these elements combine, vocabulary becomes more stable and accessible. Fluent communication develops when language is repeatedly connected to meaning and use. New words are remembered when the brain treats them as meaningful and important. Attention begins the process. Connection deepens it. Repetition strengthens it. And communication makes it active. Vocabulary learning is therefore not only about memorizing words, it is about building meaningful connections between language, memory, and our real-life communication. This is how words gradually become part of our fluent expression.